Now, a former para-athletic world champion is leading a campaign to change the way sports footwear companies sell shoes. Stef Reid had her foot amputated after a boat accident and went on to become a world champion Paralympic long jumper and sprinter. Well, now she's calling on major brands to sell single shoes as well as pairs to cut costs for amputees and ensure that brands match their inclusive marketing with genuine action.
My right foot was amputated, which means I now use a prosthetic leg. And in my daily life, you will see me walking around with two shoes, apart from when I am running or playing sports, because I wear a very cool carbon fiber blade. Okay. Running blades like mine are springy and light, and they let me run faster than a traditional prosthesis. And I've used one throughout my Paralympic career. And it means I only actually need a left shoe. But it is almost impossible to find a manufacturer or retailer willing to sell just a single shoe. I loved the bladed mannequins, and I wish 15-year-old Stef had seen those, but now I want retailers to match their inclusive imagery with the actual buying experience.
Well, that is Stef Reid. I'm joined now by Luke Tarrant, an adventurer who had to have his left leg amputated after a motorcycle crash in Colombia in May last year. Thanks so much for being with us. So this campaign for the footwear companies to sell shoes in singles rather than pairs. Is this something that has affected you or others you know as yet?
Yeah, so my amputation was only 1 year ago, so I've not quite got back to running yet. And I actually do currently use two shoes because my prosthetic isn't a blade, it's just a sort of basic prosthetic. So I do put a shoe on it. However, I know many amputees who use running blades and just have, in my case, it would be a left shoe, but one shoe they never use. It's a bit of a waste. And also, I think it just, as was just mentioned on that video, nowadays, companies want to seem incredibly inclusive and they put these mannequins up and make it look like they're here for people who have disabilities. And I just think it's important that if they're showing that message out there, they should sort of behave in the same way. So I'm completely on board with what she's saying, despite the fact I haven't yet needed to use a running blade, but I will do hopefully soon.
And we're just seeing some of your Instagram posts, I think, on the screen there. Just tell us about, obviously, must have been terrible to have this accident, but yeah. It hasn't stopped you, clearly.
No, it happened just over a year ago, and I've tried to sort of almost pretend that it's not happened and carry on pushing myself to do all the things I was doing before, and in some cases more. But I think I'm slowly coming to grips with the fact that I do now have a disability, which is limiting me in some ways, and it's just about finding ways around it. And I mean, right now I'm sat here at home with my leg off because I've got a bit of skin which just won't heal where my prosthetic takes its weight. So it's a process and it takes time, but I'm hoping over time it will get easier, but I'm only a year down the road at the moment.
And just tell us about some of the adventures that you've had despite all that.
So I mean, I did my accident on a motorbike. I was traveling from the US down to the southern tip of South America. So my new plan is to kind of get back on the bike. But since then, I've taken up mountaineering. I was meant to be climbing a mountain a couple of months ago, which had never been climbed before. Had a bit of an issue in Kyrgyzstan, which is where the climb was meant to be. But I've done all the activities which I like to do before. Kayaking, I've been on paddle boards, I've taken up cycling again. So I'm getting back to everything, but it's like doing everything again for the first time. It's sort of like I've been reborn and now I'm trying to do everything I did before for the first time again.
Where do you get your optimism, Gene? And can we all have some, please?
Do you know what? I'm having to really rely on it today while I'm sat here without my prosthetic on. I find that when I can wear my leg, I'm happy, I'm good, things are great. When I can't wear my prosthetic, I really notice that my life's changed. I have to hop around on crutches. Even this morning, I tried to hop into the shower and I slipped on the water on the floor and hit my head on the wall. So it's one of those things that there's continual tough moments and annoying points that come up, but over time you kind of get used to the down days and then use them to fuel next time. You realize, right, I've got through that day in the past, this day is not as bad as that one, I'll get through this too. And that's kind of how I'm trying to view my life now, because it is ups and downs, but it's the same for anyone, whether you've got one leg or two, to be honest, I think.
Do you dwell on the crash itself, and when you do, what does go through your mind?
Well, I don't remember what actually happened in my crash. So I don't think about the crash itself. The thing I do dwell on, and I actually was sort of journaling this morning thinking about it, is the things which I was able to do really easily before. I've just been on a family holiday for a week with my parents, and it's the first one since my crash. And I was just constantly thinking, what would I do right now if I had both my legs? I'd be, I'd be going for a run. I'd be climbing up that mountain. I'd be going for an explore down the beach, jumping in the sea. And I still try and do those things, but it just is harder than it was. And that is what I struggle with. It's just comparing life before to now. But I wouldn't say I dwell on it. It's just an awareness that life is different.
Okay.
But at the same time, it could be a lot worse, and I might not be here if my leg
Luke
wasn't chopped
Tarrant,
off.
thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you.